People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, David Ornstein has been speaking in a live Q&A, and he's been all over the place for the last couple of days. He's been heavily reporting Arsenal's developments in relation to the wage cuts, but he offered some things in relation to previous transfer targets. People, he said before signing David Luiz, Arsenal considered Ruben Dias of Benfica, who I believe should be at this club, and he's linked with some other clubs. That's Akanji, who I still think is a very decent player, but I've turned down my ratings from a bit, but I still think he would have been good. We wanted Caceres on a free, and we also wanted Tarkowski. He also said there was contact with Harry Maguire, but Arsenal couldn't compete with Manchester United or City because they were offering Champions League football. He also said, in relation to Upamecano, he said Upamecano was previously a target when Smith Rowe was at Leipzig in early 2019. I'm told Huss Farmy went over there to watch Upamecano and hold talks, but he's injured. No idea about now. And that's a man you hear is high on Arteta's list of transfer targets. And obviously with Leipzig's situation in relation to they've got a player who they can make a very decent profit on, contracted until 2021. Dangerous game not to sell him this summer. So yeah, some of them names. I mean, David Luiz has been a good player for us and stuff, but if we're honest, David Luiz is a stopgap signing. I'm not trying to criticise him. What I mean by that is he's not getting any younger. He's contracted until 2021. Talks of an extension. He's going to be here for let's say 3 years max. He's an experienced man. He's a big personality. He's a ball player. I get all of these things in it, people. But there's not really any longevity with David Luiz, really. And maybe that was the easiest option, because you look at Harry Maguire, we would have had to overpay and maybe even give him more wages to say, you know what, did the Champions League thing, come down to London and do what we're on. You look at Akanji, that was obviously going to be a bit more money than him and Ruben Dias. Akanji's probably anything from 25-40 million. Ruben Dias is definitely 40-50 million euros. Tarkowski, you might be able to get around the fee, but you've really got to try and haggle with Burnley. They're probably in no rush to sell these individuals. And no disrespect to Luiz, because he's been a decent signing. But looking at these names, people, with the exception of a free transfer of Caceres, Luiz was told, him and Lampard came to an agreement that he could leave. Again, we might have had David Luiz as a target from Wade and always had a look on him, but I see it as David Luiz was told by Lampard, listen, you're free to go. We pounced in, 8 million. We haven't got that much money, allegedly. 8 mil. He stays in London. He's already got one foot out the door. We just have to convince him to come to a rival and things things like that, and come and deal at this, try some different project, because obviously we can't offer what Chelsea previously could offer David Luiz with trophies, or what PSG did, but we can offer him, the carrot of trying to return to Champions League, potentially winning the FA Cup or something like that, but trying to return to Champions League, being a different sort of leader. He was a leader with Chelsea and stuff. You look at Luiz, you had Jogba, you had Lamps, you had different men that would stand up to be counted, Peter Cech, but here, it's young player sort of thing, guiding them, and he's, to be fair to Luiz, he's taken to that, man. You hear how Saka speaks highly of him, you hear how Martinelli speaks highly of him. He's a big character, but it just seems like he was the easiest guy to get, and we didn't push the boat out really and truly based on the names I'm seeing right here, people. I don't know that, but that's just me as a fan. Now, Julian Draxler has been linked with us from however many years ago when he was a baby. He still is a babyface killer like myself, but a babyface killer. We all know he's at PSG. He's contracted until 2021. And Foot Mercato have again linked Arsenal with him. Apparently, we're keeping an eye on his situation. Apparently, Hertha Berlin are also doing the same. As you lot know, he's contracted until 2021, so PSG have a decision to make. And I think what Neymar's contracted until 2022, and Mbappe the same. I could be wrong, or one could have another year. They're sort of key players. PSG needs to extend deals, and I'm not sure if Draxler is going to be one. Apparently, Hertha Berlin are currently leading the race for Draxler and have already submitted a contractual proposal to Draxler. However, it might be difficult for them to meet his salary demands, and it might be tough for Arsenal to meet his PSG wages, whatever they are. But you'd imagine, regardless of what's said about our mismanagement of our wage structure, we'd be able to help him. Do you know what? I'll take Draxler. Again, if he comes, I'm not going to cry. If he doesn't come, it is what it is, sort of thing. I don't really see him being a difference maker in that he's going to grab games by the scruff of its neck. But I see someone, how old is he? Maybe 27. You could get him for a decent fee. again, if he can get some goals and assists in that creative role, and he is experienced, that would be decent. Again, he would probably want a big contract, and we'd have to get rid of Mkhitaryan and or Mesut Ozil, because Ceballos would bust out by this time. But I think he would be a decent option, really. Again, I would like us to go for other targets, but, you know, the Aouars and stuff like that. But if we can't afford them, which we probably can't, it is what it is. And, you know, you're looking at our creative midfield options or people that play in that role. And I know Mesut Ozil is Mesut Ozil, and he's a quality player on his day and things, but the consistency levels, Mkhitaryan's not it. You're then relying on Joe Willock, who's still learning that role, and Emil Smith-Rowe, who's still trying to play with consistency at that top level. That's 4 men that can play there, and in terms of bodies, Arsenal might concede we've got to do things elsewhere. But if we haven't got, if we haven't got that much money, and we go for, which I believe we should go for, is a centre half, and I believe a cam and a defensive mid box to box guy are of equal importance. But if you really had to press me, I would go for the more box-to-box sort of destroyer versus playmaker. Don't get twisted. We need someone that can break the line, someone that wants the ball, someone that can connect midfield and the forwards. But I don't see the spine of this club too strong, people. I always say foundations. You can't build a house from the roof downwards. It has to be up. Well, maybe in latest technology you can. And the spine of our side is being solid in midfield, dynamic in midfield, and strong in defence. And I think a box-to-box sort of man and a centre-half, that's what we need. That's the bread and butter. And then you've got the luxuries, which is the creative man and things like that. Like I said, they're both of equal importance. But if you had to press me, so I would entertain it. But I just think it's nothing more than paper talk. Apparently, AS Roma wants Socrates, and this could spark a merry-go-round because, you know, Chris Smalling's had a good season. If the season never ended, he's probably a contender to go to the Euros, really, based on how he was playing in Italy. Changed his career. You know, he's been linked with Arsenal. He's been linked with a permanent move to Roma. So has Mkhitaryan with Roma. Apparently, you know, clearly, I don't know if this is true. This might be tactics, but Roma and United appear to be at loggerheads for Smalling. So it looks like he's going to return to Manchester United, and they've turned their thoughts to Socrates. Now, Socrates, that might be something good for him. He said he's not prepared to sit on the bench and see out his contract. He wants to fight and compete. Obviously, he's lost his place in the side. Saliba's coming in. You hear there's talk of a new centre-half next season. Maybe someone like Rob Holding or a young centre-half like Mavropanos. Arteta might say, you're getting more chances. On top of Mustafi might see out his deal, and he's ahead of him right now. And obviously, Luiz is going to play. And you've got Marie, who, you know, next season he might get more opportunities. He might just be a settling-in period. To which Socrates at 31, 32, 33, however old he is now, he might concede, you know what, let me return to Italy. I've been at Milan before, in Genoa. I know the Italian way of life. Obviously, the stage of his career, it's got to be mentioned. You look at Ashley Young and many sort of old players. Being in your late 30s is the new early 20s in Italy. Extending your career, obviously lovely way of life. Obviously Champions League football potentially. Obviously as well the chance to be a competitor, to, you know, I can play week in, week out. If his friend and former, not only Arsenal colleague, but Dortmund colleague, or they both were at Dortmund at a time, if they never crossed paths, Mkhitaryan might complete a move there. Obviously, Paulo Fonseca is a decent manager tactically. And yeah, that might be, you know, if he can get his wages again, that might be something he goes for. Maybe he's contracted until 2021. Can he go and get a deal until 2023 there? Or a 2-year deal with an extension of a third? Or if he can go and get a 3-year outright deal for Roma, that would be great for him, protecting his financial future and obviously playing games. You hear he's previously opened the door to playing in America as well, and he deserves, you know, he's had a good career. He's played for a lot of big clubs, and it's up to Socrates and things, people. So we'll see how that one goes. And again, it would help us because I do believe Socrates and Mustafi both need to get off the wage books here, really and truly. If you had to press me on our options next season, I'll be going with Marie, David Luiz, Saliba, a new centre half. And then you've got Chambers slash Holding. One of them might have to leave. One of them might have to, Holding might have to go for a season and go and get first team football week in, week out and try again, sort of thing. But I do believe you need anything from 4 to 6 defenders on the books, people. And again, I have to say it again, there's a case of quantity over quality with the Arsenal team. So again, you know, Chambers, his injury might complicate things, but him and Holding, you look at him, Holding, Maitland-Niles, these are sort of guys that could be sold to raise funds. Again, I don't really want any of them to leave, but they're of the boat where I love Maitland-Niles as a player. I got a lot of time for Holding. I don't care how good people think he can be. I think he can be a decent man here. But they're the sort of man I look at. every player's got a price in it, but I'm looking at them, it's like, you know, money talks. If I get a decent offer, you know, I'll drive you myself there, sort of thing. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards. Again, with the flip side, apparently we're still in the running for Chris Smalling from Manchester United, and could be set to land him, obviously, with this merry-go-round. Keeping up with centre-halves, and you know, Gabriel of Lille, he's been linked with Everton. Apparently, was it a couple of weeks ago, he was more or less a signature away from signing for Chelsea. Previously been linked with Arsenal and a couple of clubs. And it does look like this is his last season, at least with Lille, playing Liga football, unless he was going to go to PSG or something. Another team he's been linked with. His president has spoken. Now, his motives for speaking publicly about his player, I don't know. Is it to drive a bidding war? Is it to play games with people he's already in negotiation with? Is it just, you know what, I'm going to call a spade a spade a spade, call a spade a spade. Football is what it is. You know, we're only Leo. He's getting linked with other teams. He has my blessing. We'll never know. But he has said, Gabriel is on track to join a really big club. It's true that he would like to go and try something else out. We haven't taken that decision yet, but he's received a number of offers. I feel he's closer to one club than others, but nothing's done yet, so we'll see. I wouldn't want to say anymore, as I respect the player too much. The mechanism I have here, and that we saw that worked so well with Nicolas Pepe, is that I have a certain price in mind for a player, and at the end of the day, it's the player's choice to go and play where he wants to play. That's the respect I have for them. I feel he is among the top 5 dominant centre-halves in Europe right now. His statistics, which aren't covered well outside of France, show that his percentage of winning duels is pretty unheard of in a league that's pretty extreme, which is true. He's an absolute machine, so to me, he's well on his way, if not this year, to potentially join a really big club. I'm certain he's on his way to the Brazilian national team at the moment. He's been linked with 2 clubs in the UK, and he's clearly been linked with other clubs that either have inquired or moved forward with proposals for him. But we're not in a hurry, and we're not playing right now. The player isn't on the pitch. And then I didn't include the rest, but what does that tell you? That tells you that he's trying to spark a bidding war. He's got a price in his mind. If you hit that price, it is what it is. And he's telling prospective clubs, if you have any interest in him, yo, he's closer to one club than others. There's been a bag of offers. Come and get it. End of the day, money talks, sort of thing. And, you know, you've got to salute it, because Leo have a good model. They signed Pepe for how much? Making a decent profit. Again, I love Pepe, but considering the form he's in, it's looking like we got robbed. Again, you're seeing Gabriel, 35, 40 million euros isn't the most eye-watering figure in today's day and age, especially with how it's going. But from a profit point of view, they signed him for a couple of mil, and then he's gonna go. And then you've got Osimhen, you've got you've got Ikone, you've got a couple other players in and about that Leo squad who could be sold likewise, like Pepe and potentially Gabriel, for profit. And you know, Leo will have a couple of other of these players around the scene. For instance, you know, Marseille's Elagi, France youth international, plays on the flanks, was in the first team picture but has had contractual disputes. Apparently he's joining Lyon on a free transfer. I saw that a couple of months ago on a report. I don't know if that's true, but again, you get him for free, excluding if there is compensation packages in France, but you get him on a free, you develop him, you sell him for a decent profit, the world keeps spinning, people, sort of thing. So we'll see, man. And yeah, he's been linked with Arsenal, he's been linked with Chelsea, he's been linked with Everton, depending on how you read it. He could be close to just joining Chelsea, because I'm always weary of when there's heavy interest and then it goes quiet, people. So it looks like signing on the dotted line. I mean, if you remember, it's completely different, but just a couple of weeks ago, Chelsea announced Hakim Ziyech, so, you know, they've shown they'll do this if need be. So I don't really need to add anything. There's nothing more really and truly. I've tried to stay away from the Aubameyang rumours, because every day he's joining a new team. But for now, people, DG, I'm out. It's always a pleasure speaking with you guys.